So, hello everyone, and welcome to another Communicator Program conversation. I am Evan, and I'll be your host today. Now, in this series, we speak with our learners, trainers, and community members whose experience help us understand what community interpretation looks like in real life. We share this conversation through our YouTube channel, social media platform, so that more people can learn about the program. Today, I'm very happy to welcome our guest, Monica Cliveti. Monica is a certified English Romanian translator with experience expanding in court, community, legal, medical, and scientific language work. She also brings many years of teaching experience and strong interest in language, culture, and lifelong learning. Monica was one of the founding trainer of the Communicator Program. She helped learners understand interpreters' role, practice important skills, and build confidence in the respectful learning environment. And today, we will be talking about her professional journey. What was it like to help deliver the program in the earlier years when it started, the growth she saw in the learner, and why community trainers really matter in the society. Monica, thank you so much for joining us. It's a pleasure having you here today with us.
Thank you so much, Evan. It was a very kind introduction.
Yeah, so let's begin. So, Monica, I would like to begin with your story. Many viewers may know that you work in both translation and interpretation, right? But
Yes.
they may not know how your journey began. So, could you introduce yourself and tell us about how you first became interested in language, translation, and interpretation?
Let's try to make a long story short. I've always loved languages and I absolutely love traveling. And there is a different connection that you make when you meet the people where they are comfortable. So, born and raised in Romania, you have to start studying languages at a relatively young age. So I start with Russian and French. And I would say by grade 6, I had a pen pal in Magadan, Russia, that I was to correspond very, very often. But when I grew up, letters were a thing and email was not invented yet. So it was that process of actually writing, thinking in a different language, and putting your thoughts organized on a page so that somebody else could understand what you're trying to speak or talk or tell them. Anyway, then we switch into French and English and so on. But during the university years, I started traveling a lot to conferences, and I got a glimpse of the power of understanding people and being able to communicate your thoughts in a different language. I was not yet into translation interpretation as a career. This was something fun, something
Mhm.
that connected you to the people, something that helped you communicate and find your way in a different city. It was something almost like a need, but a fun need. And one of my stories, like let's say my first attempt at interpretation was this. I was traveling from Budapest to Rome in a night train, and were 4 people in this train cabin, whatever it's called. Spanish and Italian, me, and a German that speaks English. Nobody else is speaking the other languages but me. We spent the night talking, all 4 of us, in all the languages, and me trying to interpret from one side to the other. And I think it gave me for the first time this understanding of the power that somebody that can speak multiple languages has, the power to connect to people. That at the end, the baseline is that connection that we all crave. Anyway, life took me on a different path. I became a geologist, start teaching at the university. So I wasn't really thinking of translation, interpretation, until uh, early 2015, when we decided to adopt our kids from Romania and we needed a translator. The lady was fabulous, helped us immensely. So after this experience, I was like, well, I can speak a few languages. Maybe I can help somebody. The ripple effect.
Yep.
This lady
Yeah.
helped me, maybe I can help somebody else. And that's how it started. I wrote my exam to become a part of the Association of Translators and Interpreters of Saskatchewan. I passed that one. A few years later, I wrote the one for certification, passed that one too. The pandemic hit. And now we're all isolated. We're all in corners of the world. Nobody's connecting to anyone. And by then, I've been doing thousands of hours of interpretation with my family because my husband speaks English. My family speaks only Romanian. So when we visit, I am not part of the conversation. I'm just making sure they can understand each other. And I was like, well, let's try this one. And the email from UCC showed up in my email box, like my mailbox. And I was like, okay, this is a sign. We're going. And you know what? I am deeply, deeply grateful for taking that program and for following that path, because I realized I do love interpretation. I do love that connection that we have with the people and the immediate effect that it's seen. You're helping a person right now. So yeah, let's say that's my path into translation and interpretation.
Great to know. Thank you, Monica. That gave viewers a very broad and helpful picture that you just have your calling someday, and from there you get to choose the path itself. Monica, you've worked with languages in different ways, right? Now, before we talk about the program itself, I would like to clear up one question that people always have. And the question is about the difference between interpretation and translation. Sometimes people treat it in the same way, but we know for the fact that they are both different altogether. So in everyday language, what is the main difference between translation and interpretation?
Okay, so translation for me is a very lonely job. You know, you're sitting at your desk, you have all the time that you allow yourself or the client to do the job, and you have time to revise, to relook, to rethink the ideas. But again, you're on your own world. And maybe that's why translation spoke to me initially, because I like to do things at my own pace and my own time. Every attention to the detail counts. Like, you have to be very detail oriented, and you have to read the thing that you need to translate the document a few times to understand that, one, you grasp the idea, but also it gives you the time. Like, you can reach out to the client and say, hey, did I capture this one the right way? Is this what your initial document was trying to say? Which is very important, right? Mostly like if it's a literary translation or scientific, where things can go sideways really fast. But you have that time. Okay, you have the time to revise, to look at every resource possible or impossible. If you want to have 1,000 dictionaries, you can have them all. It's a job that, as I said, you do it at your own pace, your own time. The stress is basically on the accuracy and fidelity of the document more than on the I need it now. Interpretation is on the other side of the spectrum, I would say, where the urgency is right now. As I said, the effects are immediate. Like, you see it right away if you help somebody or not, because their face is going to show you something. And you're like, oops, maybe they didn't understand what I was trying to say. Let's try again, right?
Yep.
You don't really have time to think about, is this sentence grammatically correct? Do I put the verb in the right place? It's more like, how do I transmit the meaning right now so that person understands it? Right? I would say the focus is more on meaning than on grammatically accuracy. I mean, we're all striving to speak in clear sentences, but sometimes that gets a little lost. And then the other thing that is different, I feel that you have, as the interpreter, you have a split second to react to something. If my client doesn't understand right now, I don't have 10 minutes to think if I want to ask or not. It's now. They don't understand now. I'm going to interrupt now. It's like that. The stress is on the now. If they're sad, I'm not going to interpret with a very happy voice. Like I do have to transmit somehow their emotion as well. So I would say for the translation, you have to be a good writer. For the interpretation, you have to be a good actor.
That's wonderfully put, and that is a very helpful distinction. In fact, translation is about being a writer, and interpretation is about acting. And that gives an important distinction of one is in the moment, which is
Yes.
interpretation, and another is your focus to that particular topic. Greatly put.
And
Now,
obviously, in both cases, you have to be a priest as well, which means that whatever they tell you, it stays with you. It doesn't go out. It's, you're not turning into a speaker so that everyone can
mm,
hear what the discussion or whatever you needed translated. It stays with you. So it almost has that confessional feeling, if you want.
you joined the program as in a very important time when the program was really starting and shaping up really, right? So
Yes.
how did you first become involved with the program, and what made you interested in becoming one of the founder trainer of this program itself?
Oh, um, as I said, I joined the program right during the pandemic, like 2020s. Um, and it is funny and not funny. Like the world was in such a turmoil that it felt like, maybe things or path are choosing us again. And I was like, you know what? We're going to try this. We're going to try first because I love learning. Like if doesn't matter what, it's a learning opportunity for me. And two, because I had the language skills, but I didn't have a structure. I started doing a little bit more informal but very important interpretation, and I was not confident of what to do. Which person do I talk now? How do I say that? Right? So all those uncertainties. So I was like, you know what? Maybe this is the program for me. So we're going to take it. And I absolutely loved it. Like it gave me the confidence, it gave me the skills, it told me a lot about the code of ethics. Just to say, prior to this, my code of ethics was very simple. Don't do to anyone what you don't like do to yourself. That was my
Yeah.
code of ethics. Right? Like all those principle of confidentiality that I was respecting, it was not defined as that, or impartiality. I'm like, I know I don't have to keep, how should I say, take sides, but it was not really defined. It was just a principle within me, right? And I was like, okay, this program gave me the knowledge, because how often do we use legal terms in real life? How often do I deal with people that go to trauma? Like usually it's not me that deals with that. It's some
Mhm.
specialist in some corner of the world, right? So it gave me one power to explore different domains. It gave me the impulse to actually, okay, I start building my database, my own database of words. And now I'm confident on how I need to do it. So this is the part that I absolutely love about the program. Like it just gave me a tool belt of a lot of skills that I would have not got on my own. When I've been approached about being one of the trainer, I was like, oh yes, definitely count me in. And it's because to me, it's that ripple effect. You helped me out, my turn to help somebody else.
Thank you, Monica, for your answer. It sounds like the program did create an impact on you. It actually brought the natural instinct of being reciprocate to one another, right? As you
Yes.
mentioned, when somebody does some help to you, we naturally incline towards helping the other person. So to understand why that work mattered, I would like to step a bit back and talk about the need of the communicator program and what was responding. Now, many people help family members, friends, or community members because they speak different language. That support itself, as you mentioned, can be valuable, and community interpretation is also carries the real responsibility in this particular place. Now, when the program was being established, what gap or need did you really believe it was trying to address in the community?
Oh, gap or need, there were lots. There was a time of high immigration in Saskatchewan.
Mm,
Not all the newcomers were able to speak English. And I can tell you from personal experience that at that time, my husband and I were volunteering with Regina Open Door Society, helping one of these newcomers' family. I had no idea because I don't speak Arabic, and
mm,
they were from Syria. Trouble understanding, but I also saw the struggles firsthand, if you want, of trying to access healthcare, trying to buy groceries, trying to even take the kids to a soccer practice, right? When you are in a country where you don't understand the language, when you don't know what's happening, the system is completely different. And everything is just a pile. And I understand that, there are volunteers out there that are willing to help, but they're not always able to help because they don't speak the language, right? So having that person that one can ground you, can make you feel heard and seen, and just listening to your problems, because we cannot fix everything, but sometimes lending that listening ears and the shoulder that you can cry on, it makes you feel a little less lonely and lost. So to me, that was the major need program addressed. The fact that we don't have, or we didn't have at that time, and I still think we don't have enough, enough people that can interpret, that can slide into those roles without being friends, family, connections, right? But the professional ones that can slide into those roles and ease a little bit the pain of the newcomers. And that's why I absolutely love the program.
yeah, you point out the very important aspect where knowing the language itself cannot really solve, but as you mentioned, having the ears, having the ability to listen, and having the ability to understand the other person really requires certain training and practice, and I believe that this program entails all those aspects fully.
Definitely.
You saw the need from the beginning. Let us now talk about what it was actually like to deliver the training in the earlier stage. Now, the earlier years of the program involve learning, adjustment, and so many behind the work scene, right? That's why we are here today, and that's why we have an ever evolving communicator program. Now, what was it like to really deliver the communicator program in the earlier stages, Monica?
I will say that I was a big fan of it. As mentioned prior, I like to do things on my own time, at my own pace. So leaving me with, at the early stage, it was very structured. So you had 2 hours to do the learning with somebody on the other side of the screen, right? But it was 2 hours and you had to be there,
Mm.
which works perfectly for me because otherwise I would be somewhere in the stratosphere, right? So that one in the early stage, it worked perfect for my own personality in terms of like, I need discipline, I need structure, and if it's not imposed on me, then I'm floating. So that part worked. And then from like a trainee point of view, being forced to being given a specific time to actually sit down and study and learn, it worked. From a trainer point of view, it was a big jump for me. I don't look like, but I tend to be very shy. I'm very shy. Plus, I think at the beginning I had a little bit of that imposter syndrome. Who am I? I don't really have experience. Who am I to tell these people what to do when I barely learn what to do, right? Like, I need to build some experience. But then the thing that helped me through those first few stages was, I draw from my mistakes. This is what I've done. How can we do it better? And then I'm also the type of personality that if something is hard, I'll plow through it and come victorious at the other end. To me, the program, it's valuable for both trainees and trainers because they both have something to learn. And in the first, as I said, in the first, the early stages, I was learning lots as a trainer. And I would bring my own mistakes into the talk and then take out more confidence. I will put it that way.
Yeah, you brought a very important point here that practice makes it perfect. Making mistakes and is inevitable, but you go there and put your mistakes, practice one again and again, and there where the evergreen model starts, right? Now that is a good place to look of the program more closely. Now people enter the program with different level of experience, right? Now, some had
Yes.
already been into the communities practicing the skills as you did, right? While others are very new to this interpretation practice. So there are different challenges that different people face. Now, what were some of the most challenges you noticed when learners began the practical interpretation activities?
Well, I would say that for a lot of them, there is, as I said, that imposter syndrome. Am I good enough? Am I good enough to be here? Like what all the other people are going to think if I make a mistake. The fear of making mistakes is what's stopping us from making good, like realizing good things.
Mhm.
So we have to go over that fear. So some of them have that fear of like, oh, I'm going to make a mistake, right? For some of them, I find that having the scenario in front of them, it's such a temptation that they cannot separate themselves from the scenario. And instead of practicing active listening and note taking, they're preferring to have the words in front of them. That's from a trainee point of view. From a trainer point of view, it's really challenging to assess if they if they interpret accurately because you
Mm.
don't speak all the languages, you don't
Oh
understand,
yeah.
you get the hesitations, right? Oh, I'm sorry, I made a mistake, right? Or the nervous laugh, when when a mistake happened, right? And something gets not right, but that's when you're just like, that's perfectly fine. And you're going to, okay, let's practice the techniques of how do we take a break? How do we, have a sip of water because we cannot find the word? Or, like techniques that will help you calm you down. And I find that's the other part, the nervousness, like the nervous energy before the assignment starts, where it's like, am I prepared enough? Am I ready? Am I going to do a good job, right? And then you're just like, okay, breathe,
Mhm.
breathe. It's okay. So the other challenge that has nothing to do with interpretation is the fact that we're humans, and
Oh yeah.
interpreters by nature are genuinely very good people, and they want to help. Understanding that boundary where your role finishes and the human role starts, and then trying not to overstep. Because if you interpret for somebody that's going through a crisis, naturally or humanly, you just want to give them a hug and comfort them, but you can't, right? So I find that this is a big challenge for a lot of people, where it's like, I want to help in a different way
Yeah.
than interpreting, but I have to hold myself back. And it's almost like the professional interpreter and the humans are having a struggle in your mind.
Yeah.
Then it's like, oh, what do I do now? Take a break, recenter.
About various important challenges here. Now, people are often, often hesitant to take that starting point because they're nervous. Once they start and practice and get the feedback, you begin to see the change. And you also brought a very important topic about setting the boundaries. Sometimes as natural as it is, we are human being and we are social being, right? And we often cross that blurry line of
Yes.
being too connected with our clients sometimes rather than taking care of the personal professional boundaries itself. Now
Yes.
yes, as we are talking, one more most meaningful part of teaching and watching people is to improve over time, right? Is to see them grow, right? So what are the kinds of growth did you see as a learner, practiced, received feedback, and tried again to grow?
Oh, this is, I would say, the best part that you get to see from week to week, where somebody that starts nervous usually after a few sentences settle in and sounds confident. It's like, okay, I can do this. I'm ready for this. I've learned how to breathe. I learn what I need to do. We're going for it. So there is a exponential increase in confidence,
Mhm.
right? The basically, um, okay, I'm good enough. And the imposter syndrome just like, go away. Right? For some of them, I see the fact that they're taking, even if they have the scenarios in front of them, they're taking their level of being prepared very serious. Well, they will create their own cheat sheet prior to the assignment,
Mhm.
right? And then they will try to practice notes taking and active listening. And you see it going like this, right? And it's like, okay, they're becoming more confident into the role. And I would say the biggest one is that they are willing to take the command of the room.
Mhm.
As the interpreter, you have to control the flow because you cannot just leave somebody talking for 300 hours and then try to interpret, right? So, or if you see that culturally there is a discommunication, you have to interrupt. And they are more and more, like towards the end of the program, they are willing to interrupt without feeling like,
Mhm.
interruption, please. Right? So they are stepping into the interpreter role and using their superpower to control the room.
It's very powerful changes that you observed, right? One is confidence that they build from starting with the program to the end. Yeah, that boosts really in the practical sector as well when they really go in the field and practice their interpretation skills. Now, learners often need feedback to make the kind of progress that we mentioned right here, right? Now, feedback can help people to go, but also make people nervous sometimes. Now, especially when they are speaking in front of others, working in some and working in additional language itself, right? So, how did your teaching and language experience shape the way you gave feedback and help learners to feel safe enough that they can practice those in the real life situational scenarios?
Okay, so as I said, I teach for a living, and giving that feedback in red pen, it's not exactly my favorite type. So we're
Yeah.
going to leave that separately. I would say my favorite type of feedback in what it regards the interpreter program is asking questions. Okay. So I'm moving from pointing fingers, you have not done this, to this is the situation. How can we fix it? What do we learn from this? And it gives the participant one a self introspection moment where it's like, have I done this? Let me think. Yeah, I think I've done this. Now let's learn, right? But they don't feel like, oh, I'm in the spot now and I've done the mistake and I'm being scolded. I'm not a kid, right? And I find that if this type of feedback people really step into, it's an open question, they
Mm.
feel safe answering. And not only that, I make sure that everyone answers because this is not a question for Evan. Evan, you're the only one speaking now for the next 30 minutes. I want to hear this
What
is
the-
the situation. How is everyone perceiving and what will be their solution? And that gives them an opportunity to learn from each other. Because let's say if it's an ethical issue that involves that human side, there will be very good conversation about it and like what we're going to do, what can we do? Can we ask somebody else? And then at the end, all of us in a group come with a solution that we can take home. and apply it to next time when that situation happens. Then the other part is, instead of pointing at their mistakes or saying, hey, Evan, you did this, I'll be like, let me tell you when Monica did exactly the same thing, and this is what I've done it then, but today maybe I wouldn't because I learned better. I learned my
Yeah.
lesson, right? And then that gives them a, oh, okay, so the trainer makes mistakes too. Okay, so it's allowed for me to make mistakes. At the end of the day, we do our best. We try our best. We try to be as prepared as possible, right? But mistakes will happen
Oh yeah, that's
and they're
inevitable.
part of life.
Yeah. Well, that's a very supportive approach to see learning process grow, right? And then you point out a very important aspect of taking the pressure out of the shoulder to yourself to discuss some problem. Actually, do not make them focus right there. That takes the focus out from their shoulder to another. Now, till now we were talking, Monica, about classroom and the learner's experience. Now, what I would like to do is to connect the work to people and the communities and how interpreters may support the communities. Now, community interpreters may present during conversation that affects person's health, education, work, legal situation, settlement journey, and all aspects of life, right? Now, in those conversations and considerations and situations, why are ethics, cultural understanding, and trained community interpreters so important when they're supporting newcomers?
I am going to give you an example that I just
Yes.
learned last week, let's say. It doesn't matter. A week before, it doesn't matter. It was related to a very common word in the English language, interest, which does not have a bad meaning or a, right? In English, interest is interest.
Yep.
So
Yep.
it's a sum of money that the bank is going to pay to you because you have your money in the bank. But I just learned that in some culture, it's a very bad word. It's almost like a swear word. And then as soon as you translate that as the interest, the person at the other end is going to shut down and be like, that's it. No more
Mm,
conversation. We're done. Right. And that's where I would say cultural awareness and the code of ethics, they kind of cross path, because
mm,
if you just translate that as the simple word, you're losing the cultural awareness and you're losing the client, and everyone goes upset home because they just lost time, right? While if you're understanding that part, that interest in that culture is a bad word, you could, as the interpreter, ask the service provider, can you give me a different word, or give me the meaning, give me the definition of it so I can translate that, because the definition is not bad. It's the word that sounds bad, right? So I think that's where the interpreter has to be very aware
mm.
of the like the cultural awareness on both sides. Something that it's commonly accepted in Canada is not going to be easily accepted in the other culture, right? And understand that and bridging that cultural difference, not by changing the word, by asking the service provider into changing or giving definitions that are easy, it's easy to understand, easy to manipulate. I mean, we're also working into different systems.
Yeah.
Like, it's very seldom that the Canadian system will match the system in the other culture, right? So understanding that, it's where the interpreter becomes a superhero.
Mhm.
Because the interpreter has to make that connection, I would say 30 seconds ahead, and be like, okay, you just said interest. Now you have to explain it to me because I cannot
Mm.
translate that without losing everyone in the room.
Well, a very interesting topic here about interest, right? And how it's very normal to one society and a taboo to some other society, right? That is how the meaning of certain words change, really, from very simple to very complicated in different countries, cultures, and languages. that brings to the final question. Now, you have seen the program from its early training years, watched the learners build these skills. Now, looking back, you were part of the program at a very important stage. Now, what makes a communicator program valuable, and what would you say to a person who has more than one language skills and is wondering whether community interpreted training is the right path for them or not?
Yes, the communicator program, I think one, it gives more flexibility right now. Like you can learn on your own time if you're that kind of person. As I said, I still like the structure of the fact that you have to meet in person and you have to go through the scenarios, which give you a little bit of a glimpse of real life because we're all spread out, right? So the fact that it facilitates the meeting and the practical part, it's absolutely fundamental for me. It's the one that brings me back every single time because I love those exercises. I love the fact that people try, and then I love the accessibility. You don't have to travel to Saskatoon or Regina to do these exercises. You can just do them, right? So maybe I would like a little bit more of a on the learning part, like the theory part, but I understand. I understand we live in a society that's absolutely busy, and then having that flexibility is really appreciated by a lot of people. As a person that has gone through the program, if you have the language skills, give it a try. There is nothing to lose and only to gain. It's going to open a lot of gates, possibilities, a network of people exactly like you that love languages and love to help people, right? And my thing is that you, as a person that has the language skills, you do have a secret superpower that connects two worlds. You are in that time and space at a precise moment where you can connect two worlds, two people that cannot understand each other, and you are there, right? So it's that ripple that goes through the universe, and it's almost magic. Like, absolutely love it.
Mm,
The moment when you can connect two people and make them understand, because at the end of the day, we all crave that human connection.
definitely. Perfectly put, Monica. Again, thank you so much for sharing your experience with us today. Your story, that community interpretation is much more than just speaking through language. It requires accuracy, preparation, ethical judgment, culture understanding, and ability to keep learning. As a communicator program founding trainer, you help learners understand the interpretation role, practice in supportive environment, and build confidence through your feedback. We truly appreciate the experience and care you brought at that work. Thank you so much again.
Yeah,
Uh,
thank you for having me. As I said, any single opportunity I have to learn something else, I will take it.
to everyone watching, if you speak more than one language and want to use those skills to support newcomers and communities, the Communicator program may be the valuable step for you. Make sure you always learn and be connected with the Communicator program as we move forward together. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Monica, for your time today. And we end the session here today.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.